Welcome back to Movies You Miss Podcast, everybody. This is episode 210. Hopefully you enjoyed the last week's episode, which was a complete blast. Although we did drop two, Arnold Schwarzenegger and May the 4th be with you. This is now our week of Mother's picks. And I'm excited because I had not seen Vee's and Vee had not seen mine. So this is going to be a brand new episode for everybody included. Vee, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well and always look forward to the movies that our mothers pick for this Mother's Day episode every year. And I think this one's going to be a good one. We both got the opportunity to introduce new movies to each other, which is always fun as well. And then there's the added bonus that our moms picked them, so it's pretty great.
It is pretty exciting. Your mom's pick is a little bit more dramatic than mine. I feel like there is a little bit of comedy in yours, but mine's more of a rom-com. It's kind of a weird genre, I think, the one that my mom picked this year.
I think it fits into a couple different genres, including existential crisis. I'm looking forward to having our discussion about it.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to getting into both of these movies and the discussions, especially with your mom's pick that I had never even heard of nor seen. I think you had heard of my mom's pick this week, but you just hadn't seen it.
That's right.
Awesome. So, Susan, good job on your pick, and Mom, thumbs high on yours as well. We'll see what Vee has to say about your pick. Before we get into those, let's introduce ourselves. I'm John. Vee's on the other end here. We've been friends for just about 30 years. We have spent several decades in the entertainment industry, and we're here to discuss movies without spoiling them. And a lot of these movies we feel have been underrated or completely forgotten. And truthfully, I feel like my mom's pick this week, and very likely Vee, your mom's pick this week, really fit the category of what this podcast is all about.
Yes, our moms totally understood the assignment.
So welcome everybody to Movies You Miss Podcast. I think it's time to jump into Vee's mother's pick this week. What do you say, Vee? Are you ready to go back to the early 90s?
Yes, that is when my movie was made. Well, my mom's movie.
All right, let's do it. Let's get into your mother's pick this week.
Sounds good. For this year's Mother's Day pick, my mom, Susan, decided to pick not only a political movie, but also a movie that celebrates Val Kilmer because he did pass away recently. And I think her movie's very timely. I've been a fan of it for a very long time. Our whole family's been watching it for a while. My sister Shannon has, and I know my parents have both been fans for a long time. So I'm really happy to get into it. This is the 1992 movie called Thunderheart. It has a really good cast of characters and a good director as well. And this movie is very fascinating because it actually takes place in the late 70s. And it is based on a true story and also has a lot of history tied to it. The gist of it is that there is an Indian reservation in South Dakota, and there has been a lot of civil unrest over the last few years. Mainly because there is a group called ARM who are very traditional. They are the Native Americans within the community who want things to go back a little bit to the past. They want to use the chief system again. And then there are the other Native Americans in the community who want things to stay more modern. And there's just really a fundamental clashing of philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of people have been caught in the crossfire. And most recently, a member of ARM named Leo Fastelk has been killed. And the FBI is now involved. And that's where Val Kilmer comes into play. He actually has a little bit of Sioux in him from his father's side. And Washington, D.C. thinks that maybe him having this background will help quell these tensions, especially on a Native American reservation when a bunch of federal agents are coming in. And so now Val Kilmer, playing Ray Lavoie, is going out to South Dakota to meet with a more seasoned FBI agent played by Sam Shepard. His name's Frank Cattell. Sam Shepard, he was in Black Hawk Down, your previous pick, as well as The Pelican Brief, another pick of yours.
Mm-hmm.
He plays Ryan Gosling's father in The Notebook.
Oh.
But the funny thing is, I've always gotten him and Peter Coyote mixed up.
Oh, see, I always get him and Sam Elliott mixed up. Now, granted, not because of how they look, but the
just
names.
their names.
When I saw Sam Shepard in the credits, I was like, oh, cool. We'll be seeing Mr. Big Mustache from the 90s, and then this guy shows up, and I'm like, oh, okay, completely different guy that I was thinking of.
No, I always think of Peter Coyote because they're very lanky, salt and pepper hair white men, and Peter Coyote is the federal agent in the movie E.T.
Yes,
That's
he
where
is.
You probably remember him. So Frank Cattell is out there. He's now going to show Ray Lavoie the ropes, who's a younger FBI agent, and Frank Cattell keeps telling him that this is a whole mess, and this is a very important reminder, probably a good time to tell everybody this. This is a highly charged movie. You're going to feel a lot of emotions watching a lot of these scenes, especially how federal agents come onto a Native American reservation and how they're treated. You have to remember this is the 70s, but this is a very accurate representation of how minorities have been treated.
Mm-hmm.
This movie had the blessing and full support of the Oglala Sioux people. So that's really important. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the background of how this movie is made and how it was done so respectfully. And so I think it's a really important movie. I really like the story. And that's another reason why I'm really glad that my mother chose it. Also, I think it's a really good movie. And so now we're out in the late 70s on a Native American reservation with multiple federal agents, and they're actually working with the more modernist group within the reservation. They're called the Guardians of the Oglala Nation, also known as Goons, which is so fitting. They are all quite heavy-handed, and they're led by Fred Ward, who is Kevin Bacon's friend in Tremors. It's the main movie I've always remembered him from. And so now these two FBI agents, along with Fred Ward's goons, are going to investigate this murder. And just so happens that their main suspect is another member of ARM. How coincidental. Named Jimmy Looks Twice. And they think, oh yeah, the ARM, they're such a violent group, they just killed each other. And so that's the leading theory right now, and that's where the FBI is running, and that is also where the goons are running as well. And there are a lot of great characters within this movie, and a lot of great people on this reservation, including Graham Greene. He plays Walter Crowhorse, the local sheriff and law enforcement on the reservation. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a whole lot of power. We talked about that a little bit when I picked Wind River a couple months ago.
That is correct.
When Graham Greene was also the local sheriff on the reservation.
Yeah, very similar.
And Graham Greene had 189 credits.
Damn, that is so many.
Such a good career. Beyond Wind River, he also was in my pick of Die Hard with a Vengeance. He's one of Bruce Willis's co-workers on the NYPD.
Yeah.
He's in your pick of Maverick. He's friends with Mel Gibson in that one.
Hell yes.
His classic role was in Dances with Wolves, where he was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also in Green Mile. But unfortunately, with Graham Greene's and Val Kilmer's deaths last year, that means all leading actors in this movie have passed away.
Oh, damn.
So now we just have this historical capsule of all their performances, which are all fantastic. I think they all really embody all of these characters. I think they're rich characters as well. And so now we have these group of men investigating this murder. Some of them are looking for the truth, and all of them are trying to figure out exactly how they can keep the peace on this reservation, quell a lot of tensions that are happening between ARM and the current leaders of the tribe. And within this whole story, not only is this undercurrent of this really interesting subplot about something going on at the reservation itself. And so this is a movie that you really want to pay attention to because there is this element of the movie that's really important. And it's not touched on as much as I think it should be, but it's well enough where, especially after I've watched this movie a couple times, it all really, really makes sense. And you're like, wow, I'm actually kind of happy that they didn't just hit us in the face with all of this, that you actually have to pay attention to this movie. But it's certainly something where there's a lot of different elements to this story and exactly what's going on and why this man was killed, who's involved, and who stands to gain, as well as the history of the tribe and the location itself. And this is actually all based on a true story. The video of the riot that they showed at the very beginning of the film when Val Kilmer is in Washington, D.C., that's all real footage. Because there was a riot and they burned the courthouse down, actually, in South Dakota. Because a white man who had been charged with murder, it was knocked down to second-degree manslaughter for killing an Indian. And so everybody got really pissed, rightly so. And that's all real footage, which I really appreciate. And all of this that happened on the reservation within Thunderheart, the movie, is actually based on a true story as well. There's a documentary called Incident at Oglala from the same year, which was also directed by the same director, Michael Apted.
Oh.
That is a documentary that chronicles the events surrounding the 1975 shootout at Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, where 2 FBI agents were killed.
Oh, wow.
And there's also a lot of references to Wounded Knee, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. So this is a very multi-layered movie, which I really love, and it's hard to find these days. I like that the plot isn't completely obvious to all of us and that we do have to pay attention, and there are a lot of moving parts to it. And so I hope you had a good time with it. Like I said, I've been watching this movie for about 25 years or so. I guess a little longer now since we're in 2026, but I'm really
Certainly
glad
longer.
my mom picked it. She'd been excited for a while, and she was reminded of this movie because of Val Kilmer's passing, so I do think the timing is right to discuss it, but I know it's been on her mind for the last couple years since we've been doing these episodes, and I'm really glad she brought it to the podcast and had an opportunity to introduce you to it as well.
I had never heard of this movie, so this was something completely new to me. Halfway through, I started to think, okay, well, this is definitely where David Grahn and Martin Scorsese and DiCaprio got a lot of their inspiration for Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, granted, Killers of the Flower Moon is also based on a completely true story as well about the oil and everything involved in that movie. But it felt very similar with the murder of Indians, especially on their reservation. So there was a lot of that coming back to mind for me. And I've only ever seen Killers of the Flower Moon the one time. I read the book right before the movie came out, so I had a little bit more of an understanding of what these people on these reservations were going through. And I will credit Scorsese and David Grahn for that, because I feel like had I not read something like this in a similar vein, I might have just kind of looked at this as like, oh, wow, that's a true story. Okay, well, cool. That's so messed up, and then moved on from it. You know, it's like, I feel like that's the kind of thing with documentaries, and we've mentioned this before, where I'm like, oh, documentaries, oh my gosh, it's so sad, it's so fucked up. And then you move on and you don't really talk about it anymore.
Right.
But when I watched Thunderheart, it was interesting to see, because not only is Val Kilmer in it, but so is Sam Shepard, who, like you said, was in Black Hawk Down, and that's, I think, other than a couple of the other movies, I loved him in Black Hawk Down, but he's in it so minimally in Black Hawk Down, and he's playing this general going through Mogadishu and everything that they're trying to take care of in Black Hawk Down. And seeing him in this movie was interesting because he was on the FBI side and he was doing this investigation with Val Kilmer's character. This is definitely a twisted, true story. You said it was 1992, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this movie came out in 1992, but it happened in the 70s. Fast forward 20 years to the 90s where this movie comes out, and not only do we have Val Kilmer and Sam Shepard, but we have Graham Greene, Fred Ward, which was super interesting. I've only ever seen Fred Ward in a couple of other movies. I really remember him mostly from Road Trip in a very small role. This movie had, not only was it twisted and fucked up, but it also had a lot of comedy. And the back and forth with Graham Greene and Val Kilmer when Val Kilmer's trying to do this investigation and Graham Greene's character is just completely cold-shouldering him. I loved every scene with them in it, especially when things start to really go down, and then you can see that there's this odd mutual respect that starts to blossom between both of them, because not only is Val Kilmer a quote-unquote white man, but he has Sioux blood in him as well. So there's a little bit of back and forth between Graham Greene and Val Kilmer's character, where Val Kilmer's talking about like him witnessing a lot of discrimination going towards his father and not him as a kid, but there was just a lot of good parallels going on. And I think my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes, there's a couple of them that are really good in this movie and a couple of them that are really just gut punches. But there's a moment where Val Kilmer gets pulled over by Graham Greene, and that scene, fan-fucking-tastic, absolutely great. Can only imagine how much fun that was to shoot. It's so funny, too. Like, I've been watching a lot of old sitcoms again and, like, reading up on these old sitcoms, and this is not necessarily going off track, but, like, you read, like, I was reading how during the production of I Love Lucy, how William Frawley and Vivian Vance hated each other, but yet on screen, you could see, you wouldn't think that they hated each other.
Yeah.
When I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, these guys are really playing off each other really well. I hope that it wasn't one of those things like, we're making a movie, you're white, I'm an Indian, and I'm an Indian actor, and you're a white guy, Val Kilmer, you just coming off a Top Gun, and you have all this fame, and I'm Graham Greene. I feel like they did nothing but have a great time working together, and I would hope that would be the case. Now, there's another character in this movie, the older Indian gentleman in this movie.
Yeah, the grandpa. He's amazing.
The grandfather, yeah. There's a scene where Val Kilmer is in his trailer, and Graham Greene's telling him, like, you got to smoke this pipe with this old man, because if you smoke this pipe, then he's going to really be interested in telling you the truth about what he saw and, like, what he's experienced and all this stuff. And Kilmer's just, his character's like, and he kind of puffs on it, but not really. At the same time, you can see that the older Indian fellow has this like respect for him, the fact that he's coming from the FBI and he wants to really understand what the hell has gone on this reservation. There's a lot of really interesting back and forth, and I thought the cinematography was great as well. This movie, similar to The Revenant, made me uncomfortable, especially because everybody's wearing leather jackets and jeans,
Full
and it's
wool
North
suits.
Dakota or somewhere where I can't. Was it North Dakota or something like that? They were
South
somewhere in
Dakota.
like South Dakota. Okay, so
And
I had
they
I had the
filmed
Dakota part right.
in South Dakota in July. Usually the days
Hot as
were
fuck.
over 100 degrees. So all
Yeah.
of Val Kilmer's sweating, that was just all real.
All the sweat is true. Yeah,
And
especially
poor guy,
on.
'cause he was in Tombstone in wool coats then too.
Yeah,
And
no, exactly.
same thing, and
yeah.
they were all sweating their asses off.
Now, practicality and method acting, if you will. I did enjoy the movie. There were a lot of surprises, and there's one moment that really just, pissed me off. And when it ended, I was like, damn it, I could go another hour. Like, I really could have.
Yeah.
Like, give me more of this story, because true story, and while it's it's got the Hollywood treatment to it, I feel like they did it respectfully. And I feel like it was definitely a story that should have been told, and it was told in the right vein. And I don't know anything about the older gentleman that played the grandfather in this movie, but I'm curious if he was in anything else before or after this. So, yeah, Susan, great pick. I really enjoyed it. I don't know how many times I would actually watch it. I feel like I would revisit it like one or two more times in the next couple of years just to kind of get like a refresher of the storyline. And this movie did make me actually want to rewatch Killers of the Flower Moon. So I enjoyed it. It's weird, though, kind of like a documentary when it's a storyline like this. It's like, oh, I loved it. It's hard to say that because it's so twisted and so fucked up. But it was a very well done movie, and everybody delivered powerhouse performances. And the soundtrack is fantastic as well.
Oh,
So, yeah,
I can't wait
I
to
enjoyed
tell
it,
you
too.
all the credits on this then.
Yeah, no, let's go. Let's get into it. Let's do it.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it, though, and I do think that it's worth revisiting in the future, especially in, say, like a year or two. You absolutely will pick up more from it, and it's definitely one of those movies that when you go back to it, it's so funny. I just had a conversation with my friend Megan today about this, where her kids are out, and so is her husband this weekend. She was saying how she really wants to curl up and watch a movie because she hasn't been feeling well, and I said, oh, well, when I don't feel well, I just rewatch movies that I love, and it's just such a comfort. And she goes, yeah, I really don't do that. I don't revisit movies. And my brother is the same way, and it's so perplexing to me. I can't wrap my brain around never revisiting a film. And I know you can't either.
Yeah. No, there's no way. Especially if I'm sick, I'll put on a movie I've seen 9,000 times.
Exactly.
And recite it while I'm sitting here bundled up trying to fight my fever.
Yes. So I think
That's
at one
wild
point
to
we
me.
should have a
What
poll.
the hell's wrong with your sister? Or your friend, sorry.
Yeah. No, agreed. And I think we should do a poll at some point with our audience to see who likes to rewatch films and who is a one and done kind of person.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that the man who played Grandpa was Ted Thin Elk, and he was actually a Lakota elder. He died in 97 at the age of 77. And when he in the movie itself, when he's playing the character, he said that he was 1 year old when the massacre at Wounded Knee took place, which happened on December 29th, 1890. And since the film was set in the late 70s, Grandpa would be actually only in his 80s at that point. Can you imagine that? In the 1970s, Wounded Knee had only happened about 70 so years before that. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'll never forget HBO's Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I never did watch it, but that's another thing.
Like book.
Watching,
and then
but watching this stuff,
Trail of Tears.
Yeah,
you'll be really depressed.
I don't know about that one, but I definitely remember Wounded Knee, and I think Adam Beach is in that movie, and he was one of those Native American actors. He's in Wind Talkers. And
Adam Beach is great.
Unfortunately, Wind Talkers is not a great movie, but the story's good. The story of Wind Talkers is awesome, and the movie just was not executed well.
No, because it was all about Nicolas Cage.
It was all about
so
Nicolas
ridiculous.
goddamn Cage. Yeah, and John Woo directed it, and it's like, come on, man.
Seriously.
It used to be my favorite war movie, and then I watched it, I think, when I was older, and I was like, this movie blows.
Yeah, it does.
This is not a good movie at all. Yeah. So this did really like reignite my memory. It opened up a couple of locked memories of mine where Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee was always something that I remember seeing when HBO, before it was a streaming service, and like seeing commercials for it on like MTV and VH1, and even I think Nickelodeon even had commercials for it. And I was like, oh, I want to watch that, and I still have not, but I have HBO now, so maybe I should give it a shot. I know it was one of those limited series.
Right. Well, like I said, or read the book, and then your depression and rage will fight each other for the top spot.
There we go. Perfect. Kind of like Killers of the Flower Moon. But anyway, let's get back to Thunderheart. We can talk about Wounded Knee in another episode if we ever do a miniseries.
Well, and I'll talk about it in a minute, actually, because there's some background on that for this movie itself.
All right.
But first, I'm going to go through the rest of the credits. The reason why you liked all of the cinematography in this movie, and there are gorgeous shots in this film, especially from helicopters. Oh, yeah. South Dakota and the Badlands, I've really wanted to explore a lot more. I've only been up there once, and I just didn't have enough time, but I really want to go up to a couple of national parks up there, so I know I'll definitely be back. And the reason why it's so beautiful is because Roger Deakins was the director of photography.
That's right. I did see him in the credits and was like, sweet.
Do you know
Here we go.
He has 16 Oscar nominations?
Yeah, and I think he's only won one time.
2 now.
Okay, 2. Yeah.
Because he won for Blade Runner 2049 and 1917. Yep. I think back-to-back years.
Oh, that's right. He did do
great.
1917.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Roger Deakins was also the cinematographer on Fargo, The Shawshank Redemption, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, No Country for Old Men, my previous pick of Prisoners.
Oh, yeah.
Our future pick of Sicario.
Yes.
And those are only the films he's been nominated for Oscars for. He's done a lot more, too. Man's amazing. I mean, his eye is just legendary.
Oh, yeah. Killer.
And the reason why you like the score is because the composer was James Horner.
I saw that as well.
Yeah.
I loved that. I actually just got a cassette version of the Titanic score at a local record shop about a week ago.
Why?
Can't wait to listen to that. Because I collect everything I can of Titanic. You know this.
That's true. Oh, that's true, yeah. Okay. I will always mourn the death of James Horner, though, because we missed out on so many more scores.
Yeah, I think one of his last ones was the first Avatar, and that soundtrack is fan-freaking-tastic.
I will always love the score to Braveheart, too.
Oh, masterpiece. Score and film and everything.
I'm so glad you picked
Braveheart.
it last year. Or
I know.
Whenever you
That
did.
was
a while ago.
Well, I picked it many episodes ago.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was
Anyway.
a great episode.
It was. I picked Elizabeth. It was great.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah.
The man who wrote the screenplay for this movie is John Fusco. He also wrote the screenplay for Young Guns, The Highwaymen, the movie that was on Netflix with Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner. It was okay.
Never saw that.
All right.
I heard it was a good one, though.
Yeah.
It's okay in your eyes?
I mean, it's good for Netflix, that's for sure.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. And he also wrote Hidalgo, the Viggo Mortensen movie about he's been a horse. It's a really good movie.
I still have not seen Hidalgo.
It's good.
I imagine.
John Fusco, in order to write this screenplay, lived on the Pine Ridge Reservation for 5 years researching the script.
Whoa.
He became nearly fluent in the Lakota language.
No shit.
And there he met a tribal elder named Frank Foolscrow, and he was the inspiration for Grandpa Sam in the movie.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And 250 Native Americans worked as extras on the movie.
Damn.
John Trudell, who plays Jimmy Looks Twice, really did serve in Vietnam and was the acting chairman of AIM, what the inspiration for ARM was in this movie, from 1973 to 1979. So there's a lot of realism baked into this movie, which is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And the man who directed this movie, Michael Apted, he also directed Chasing Mavericks, which is also based on a true story about surfing those crazy giant waves, especially off the coast of like Santa Cruz and stuff.
Gerard Butler's in that one.
Gerard Butler is in the movie, yeah. I saw it once. It's not bad. It's pretty heartfelt.
I always wanted to see it. I have not gotten around to it.
Yeah. He also directed The World Is Not Enough, the crappy James Bond movie.
Hey, all right.
And the movie Enough with J-Lo.
Oh, never saw that one.
He also directed Gorillas in the Mist, which is also based on a true story, with Sigourney Weaver. It's based on the life of Diane Fossey. I read the book and then watched the movie when I was a teenager. Cried my eyes out, but amazing woman. And Michael Apted also directed The Coal Miner's Daughter, which is probably going to be a pick in the future because it's so good. Regarding the references to Wounded Knee in this movie, just as a reminder for everyone, Wounded Knee was a massacre at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation on December 29th of 1890. 300 Lakota people were murdered, mostly unarmed, mostly women and children, by soldiers of the United States Army. 19 of those soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor for their actions.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But I'm glad they mentioned it several times in this movie because it is something for us to remember.
Yeah.
And during the early to mid-70s, there were 57 unsolved murders on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. The population of the village of Pine Ridge was only 1,100 people, making it the murder capital of the nation at the time.
Whoa.
Reminds me a lot of Wind River.
Yeah.
Another reason I'm really glad that my mother brought this movie to the podcast. But the nice thing is, I will tell you, while all of that is important, while I'm very glad I was able to tell everybody about those facts, this movie is, like you said, also funny. There are nice breaks of levity within it. I like that they all call Val Kilmer the Washington Redskin.
Yeah, that was good.
That's a pretty good nickname for him. And I'm just so glad to hear that you enjoyed it, and I hope that in the near future you'll revisit it and catch even more from it, because I do think it's a very nice, layered film. Unfortunately, it did not do well on a $15 million budget, which is understandable given the location, given all the amazing shots, and also the amount of background and stunts that were needed. I get it, but unfortunately it only made $22.5 million worldwide in the box office.
Oh, damn.
Such a bummer. So this absolutely fits as one of the forgotten films, one of the underrated films that we like to talk about. And so I really hope our audience is intrigued and wants to watch it. Highly recommend it. And it's worth every penny if you rent it.
I completely agree.
Great. And so now it's time for John to introduce me to his mother's pick this week, because I hadn't seen it before either.
All right, let's get into it. My mom chose a movie from the year 2006. Wow. 20 years ago.
I'm vetoing this
That's
movie
horrifying.
just because you said that.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Honestly, I feel like this movie came out within the last 5 years. It's one of those movies. Anyway, this movie is from 2006, 20 years ago. My mother, father, my sister, myself included, major fans of this movie. This movie is written by Zach Helm. This movie is directed by Mark Foster. This stars Will Ferrell, Emma Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Emma Thompson, and Queen Latifah. This is a movie called Stranger Than Fiction. Now, I don't know how many people have actually seen this movie, because like Vee and I have mentioned before, this podcast is about underrated movies, and I feel like this is certainly one of those underrated movies. I think earlier, Vee, you mentioned this was an existential crisis type of a movie. I feel like it's definitely that. It's on the rom-com side. It's on the dramatic side as well. And before we get into any of the BTS and all that and what Vee thinks of it, let me break this movie down for you. It's going to be an interesting breakdown, because this movie is... we don't spoil movies here. This is one of those movies, how do you not spoil this movie?
Good luck. Thank your mom.
Yeah, thank you. Good night and good luck.
Oh, speaking of mom's pick, that was hers last year. God damn, that was a good movie too.
That was your mother's last year. Yes, indeed. Nice job, Susan. Thumbs high on that pick as well. Great movie. So let's get into Stranger Than Fiction. Stranger Than Fiction centers on an IRS auditor named Harold Crick. He's a numbers man, and we find this out very early on in the movie. He counts every brush stroke while he's brushing his teeth. He counts every step that it takes for him to get from his apartment to the bus stop. He counts literally everything, and people will stop him in his office and ask him what the square root of a number is. And at the same time, while all this is happening, he's got a wristwatch that seems to be kind of directing certain moments in his life. And we'll get into his wristwatch in just a little bit. So as we meet Harold Crick early on in the beginning of this flick, we also get a little bit of a British narration by the fantastic Emma Thompson. I will say my mom definitely chose not only a great movie, but a difficult movie to break down without having to spoil a whole lot in this movie. So let's just kind of get as deep as we can without spoiling anything. Harold Crick, the auditor at the IRS, has been given an assignment to go audit a bakery owner named Anna Pascal, and she is played by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And I gotta tell you, I think this was the movie that turned me on to Maggie Gyllenhaal as an actress.
It's the first time I've seen Maggie Gyllenhaal as an actress that I enjoyed her performance.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know you didn't like her in The Dark Knight, which we talked about not too long
Not
ago.
at all.
I haven't seen her in a whole lot of movies. Now, granted, she did direct one of the most badass movies of 2026, and
That's
if you
the
disagree
thing.
with that, I disagree with your disagreement.
Oh, I'm shoulder to shoulder with you on that. I will fight anyone with you
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, she directed
Because
The Bride.
The Bride is fucking killer.
It really is, and I think she should stay behind the camera because she is excellent.
Oh, yeah. No, she's a great director. I have not seen the first movie that she directed, but I will definitely give my time to her as a director from here on out. I never did see Secretary that she's in with James Spader. I hear that's a great movie, but it's also twisted. So, and again, Maggie Gyllenhaal is the sister of Jake Gyllenhaal, who we're big fans of here at the podcast as well.
Yes.
And he has a great role in The Bride. But we're not here to talk about The Bride. We're here to talk about Stranger Than Fiction. So, Harold Crick is now auditing Anna Pascal at her bakery, and she is not a fan of being audited, and she lets him know that right off the bat. On top of that, not only does she let him know, she has her entire fan base in her bakery start calling him Taxman, and everybody really just kind of starts to hate on Harold Crick. And in the midst of all of this, while Harold Crick is being chastised by Anna Pascal, not only do we as an audience hear Emma Thompson's narration, but Harold is starting to also hear this British narration about his life that's going on. She mentions how many, like I mentioned before, brushstrokes in his brushing his teeth in the morning, how many steps it takes him to get from his apartment to the bus stop, how numbers are literally just kind of filling in his life other than in him necessarily enjoying the outside world. He's very much about the numbers that keep things moving forward. So while Harold is auditing Anna Pascal and overhearing this narration, he ends up enlisting the help of a professor played by Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
And Dustin Hoffman plays Professor Jules Hilbert. He is a literature professor. Harold goes to him and starts to tell him about this narration that he starts hearing. And Jules is like, well, what's the narrator saying? What does she sound like? Etc., etc. And in the midst of all of this exposition of Harold telling Jules what he's hearing and how his life is being narrated, Jules tells him to carry around a notebook and figure out if his life is a comedy or a tragedy. And I got to tell you, that's one of the funniest moments of the movie, because later on in the movie, we also find out that Harold is doing his best to kind of steer his life towards the comedic realm, but it really seems to be more of a tragedy. And he's been doing the tallying kind of like a prisoner would do in prison, and has these 2 pages, comedy and tragedy has the most tallies next to comedy. So Harold's starting to develop this attraction towards Anna Pascal because not only is she boisterous, outgoing, and outspoken about the fact that she really doesn't like him as a taxman, he starts to notice that his attraction towards her is the authenticity of a woman that she is. So one night, Harold's got to go there and go through all of her receipts. And of course, this is what happens when you're being audited. I personally have never been audited.
Knock on all of the wood.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does Anna Pascal do to Harold Crick? She fucks up all of her paperwork and receipts.
I love that line so much where he's like, this is how you keep your receipts? No, I'm actually very fastidious. I just messed them all up because you were coming over.
Yeah. And he gets there pretty early in the day, and she leaves him up in her high tower of her bakery, and he's going through all these receipts to make sure that everything's there. And at the end of the day, he goes downstairs and says, thank you, I've got everything I need, I'm on my way out. And Anna decides to offer him some milk and cookies. I made sure your day was a horror show. Let me just make it up to you and have some homemade cookies and milk. And she gets into how, like, didn't your mom ever make you homemade cookies and milk? And isn't this something that you grew up with? And he's like, no, not really. I didn't grow up with that at all. So we start to see that Anna has a little bit of empathy for him, of the fact that he really was never really raised like a normal child with milk and cookies from mom. And she offers to give him the rest of this dozen that she's made. He tells her that he can't do it because it would signify a gift, and since he's an IRS agent, that's against the rules. And then he says that he can buy them from her. And I love this moment so much because she clearly just wanted to do something nice for Harold. He's trying to make it an official purchase so it doesn't have to come off as him taking a gift from her. And he says to her, "You made these cookies for me and I just totally blew it, didn't I?" And she doesn't say anything to him, and he says, "You know, this might sound like gibberish to you, but I think I'm in a tragedy." And as he's walking out of the bakery, he starts to hear Emma Thompson's voice again. He goes back to Jules at the college and ends up hearing this voice again, but he hears this voice on TV because Jules is watching an interview with an author named Karen Eiffel, who is writing a new book, and she's apparently this New York Times bestseller that has written book after book after book that is ultimate perfection as an author and ultimate perfection in the world of literature. And Harold finds out that the author that he's been hearing is Karen Eiffel writing a book with a character that is doing everything that Harold Crick does. After Harold leaves Jules' office after finding out that Karen Eiffel is the narrator of his movie, this is what we hear from Karen Eiffel narrating Harold Crick's life.
Sorry, does anyone have the time?
I got 6:18.
Thanks.
Thus, Harold's watch thrust him into the immitigable path of fate. Little did he know that this simple, seemingly innocuous act would result in his imminent death.
What? What? Hey! Hello? What? Why? Why my death? Hello? Excuse me? When? How imminent?
And for the rest of the movie, we're along the ride. We are along for this fantastic existential comedic tragedy of a movie with Harold Crick trying to track down Karen Eiffel to hopefully convince her to not kill Harold Crick. Because he's now started to fall for Anna Pascal, and he started to make all these new friends because of the way that he started to 180 his life in a direction that he never thought would be possible. We are treated to one of Will Ferrell's best performances, in my complete and honest opinion, comedic or dramatic. My favorite Maggie Gyllenhaal performance. And there really is not another movie like this. This is such a strange, in the title, stranger than fiction. This movie is wild. Also, I forgot to mention that Queen Latifah shows up as Karen Eiffel's assistant to help her finish this book, and Karen Eiffel is trying to figure out a way to poetically off Harold Crick. So, that is Stranger Than Fiction. If you've not seen this movie, highly, highly recommend seeing this movie. I did not see this movie in theaters because it took me a long time to really get behind Will Ferrell, not only as a comedic actor, but as a dramatic actor. And I've been watching this movie for 20 years. My wife does not like this movie at all. I love this movie. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. It makes me think of my own mortality. V, I'm very curious what your experience was watching Stranger Than Fiction for the first time.
Well, it took me a while to make myself sit down and watch it. I really wasn't in the mood for like 5 days. And I knew we were getting close to our recording and I had to do it. And a couple things happened which made me just not in a great mood. And I'm like, here we go. Now I'm ready to watch Stranger Than Fiction because I know it's a drama. And I'm watching this film thinking, God, I'm so glad I'm not the one who has to explain this plot to our audience.
Yeah, fucking A.
You did a great job, though. And
thank you.
It was one of those movies where this genre is a challenge for me because I don't normally sit down and watch it, but when I do, I usually love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like making yourself eat a vegetable that you don't always enjoy, but then you eat it, you're like, God damn it, that's so good. So I loved this movie. It was
good.
Perfect timing. I love any film that shows someone reinventing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
He had zero ambition at the beginning of this film, and at first I was like, how the hell are we going to have any chemistry between these two people?
Right.
It blossomed beautifully. It was completely believable. Both of them did a great job. And you say that this movie isn't like a lot of other films, and I totally agree. I think there's some like Being John Malkovich in it, But I also think there's elements of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it is a little bit fantastical and a lot about your life and who you are and who you want to be. I also found a little bit of a yes man in there at the second half because he's trying new things.
Oh, sure.
So those are some films that if any of you enjoyed, definitely give Stranger Than Fiction a watch. But I loved this film. It's a perfect film for us to watch at our age as well.
Oh, fully agree.
It was poignant. Emma Thompson did a great job. Everybody was amazing. Let's just get that out of the way. She's the perfect misanthrope author. She's so miserable. Queen Latifah, of course, anything she's in, I just love her so much.
How can you not?
Uber talented, gorgeous, hilarious. She always brings this spark to a movie. Any movie she's in.
Yeah, she does.
And who wouldn't want to have Emma Thompson narrating your life?
Exactly.
Her voice is perfect.
Yeah, so good.
So I really loved the concept. I didn't know where it was going. At first, I thought it was a little bit like Free Guy, where he's within his own world and they're not connected. And so I was pleasantly surprised by learning exactly what was going on. She has this line at the beginning. Who hasn't thought about leaping off a building? That moment that he's standing on the curb, the audio clip that you chose, that would result in his imminent death, his reaction made me laugh out loud in the movie. I loved it so much. And there's all these different elements that you'd think would make it something that was, I don't know, just too dull or just too commonplace, right? And it's not. This is a rich film. The characters are interesting. His journey is amazing. Dustin Hoffman gets thrown in there, and love him so much in this film.
Absolutely.
Then they throw in a little bit of Max Richter in there for music and to really make you feel the feels, which it absolutely does. And talking about his life, he has such a great character arc in this movie. And I love when he's talking to Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman's like, yeah, have you ever been with anybody? You ever been married? He goes, I was engaged to an auditor. She left me for an actuary.
Yeah.
It's just so dry and hilarious from the outside. I loved it. So yeah, I adore this film. And there's a moment where he's trying to get on Maggie Gyllenhaal's good side. And so he brings her flowers.
Yeah.
And the layers to that, I loved it so much. Anytime you have a pun, it was so creative and it was thoughtful and oh God, yes, people take note. And so
right.
I'm so grateful to your mother for picking this film. I never would have watched it otherwise, and I absolutely love it. Definitely my favorite pick of hers so far. And oh God, I can't gush enough about this movie. Everybody needs to watch Stranger Than Fiction.
I fully agree. Going back to when he brings her the flowers, I think my favorite part of that whole scene is she goes, do you feel like carrying that a little bit farther? And he's like, okay. And then it's like, yeah, there we go.
So cute.
It was great. Good. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it so much. I had a feeling it was going to be a love or a hate for you, and I'm glad that it was a love because I remember the reason I didn't see it in theaters was because it's a Will Ferrell-led movie, and I was just like, at the time, like, and I still am on the fence about him majority of the time, but his dramatic stuff.
Yeah, his dramatic stuff is amazing. But remember, this was 20 years ago.
20 years
we
ago.
were 20.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Not the type of film we would have ever wanted to watch in our 20s. And it wouldn't have impacted us at all if we had seen it.
No, I think I saw it about a year after it had come out because not only was my mom just a massive fan, my father absolutely loves this movie. It's one of those movies that my parents, every 6 months to a year, they're like, oh, we watched Stranger Than Fiction again. That movie is almost close to perfection. I'm like, and I remember seeing it the first time I watched it with both my parents. I think my sister might have even been there too. And it ended, and I was like, yeah, that is one of the best movies I've seen in a very long time. Maybe if ever. It's just so well written. The direction's fantastic. The color scheme is great, and every character has. You mentioned arcs, and I love how the friendship between him and Tony Hale's character kind of blossoms as well.
We haven't even talked about Tony Hale and the art direction, the sets. I loved every single location they were in. Yeah,
exactly. The one cool thing about Tony Hale, I might have mentioned this before. I don't know. I don't know if we've even really talked about Tony Hale on this podcast, but I've had the opportunity of working with him on a Funny or Die project several years ago. and he's a friend of my father's friend, so kind of like a mutual friend, almost like a 6 degrees of separation type thing. The only thing I ever heard about Tony Hale was he doesn't like to talk about his work on Arrested Development because, of course, he was Buster Bluth, one of the most twisted characters in all of Arrested Development. But spending a day on set with him and getting to talk to him and discuss projects, and I did not talk about Arrested Development because I had always ever heard that, but he was just a super nice guy, and it was great to see him in this. And another actress in this movie that we did not talk about, which I should have mentioned, Linda Hunt is in this movie for like 2.5 minutes.
Yes!
And she plays one of the psychiatrists that he goes to talk to.
Yeah, before I got to Dustin Hoffman, I meant to say that when he was hearing this voice, the first thing he does is go to a psychiatrist, and she tells him he has schizophrenia, which is so real, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what would you tell someone if they were just hearing just one voice? It's just one woman. I would tell them that they have schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And he's trying to convince her that he's not crazy. It was so good. Oh, that was such a good scene. And yeah, I will always think of Edna Mode whenever I see her.
Absolutely, yeah. I had the pleasure of working with her for 2.5 years on NCIS Los Angeles, and my grandmother knitted her a blanket because my grandmother was a big fan of NCIS LA, and I have a few pictures of me and Linda Hunt together on set, and she was an absolute sweetheart when I had the opportunity to work with her, and she would always ask me how my grandmother was doing because my grandmother gave her that knitted blanket, and apparently Linda Hunt somehow figured out a way to get my address and write my grandmother a thank you note. That was pretty awesome too because I didn't know that. Yeah, and my grandmother showed me the letter, and it was really sweet. So anyway, getting back to Stranger Than Fiction, Zach Helm, who wrote this movie, wrote another Dustin Hoffman-led movie called Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
Isn't that Heath Ledger's very last credit?
No, that is the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh, my bad.
The Terry Gilliam movie. But in the same vein, not really though.
Titles are similar.
Yes, they are very similar. And Mark Foster, the director of this movie, he went on to produce World War Z. He directed Monsters Ball, which won Halle Berry her first Academy Award. He also directed Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp and Kate Winslet. If you've ever seen Finding Neverland, that is a very sweet movie. And The Kite Runner, which I never did see The Kite Runner, but I've heard great things about it.
You got to read the book first.
I've also heard that as well. So good. I'm again going back to it. Glad that you enjoyed Stranger Than Fiction. It is certainly a movie that I don't revisit as often as I should. And after watching it this time, there were moments that I actually did really have some emotional moments with, especially when he starts playing the guitar in Anna Pascal's house. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that moment just grabbed me by the heartstrings and tugged as hard as they could. Let's get into a little bit of the BTS. I don't have a whole lot that's not going to spoil the movie anyway. But while shooting the movie, Will Ferrell did have an earpiece in his ear during the scenes where Dame Emma Thompson was narrating the lines, so he could actually react to them naturally. And that works especially when he's standing at the bus stop and he hears about his imminent death.
No, that's good they did that. I think it made it very organic and just cutting it in, because there's nothing that bothers me more than when you're watching a movie and some actor is supposed to react to something that's going to be CGI added later, and you could tell, especially something that's like flying around, right? And so you could tell when they're looking around with their eyes that they are absolutely not looking in the right places of where the CGI element has been added.
True.
And it drives me crazy. And so them just having a little bit more of that practicality within it, I think helped a lot.
I fully agree. And you mentioned one of Emma Thompson's first lines is about who hasn't thought about jumping off a building. And there's a lot of dark moments with Karen Eiffel in this movie where she's driving the car and she does jump from a building, certain ways on how to commit suicide and have a character get killed off in her books. And even Jules mentions that about how her books usually end perfectly with the characters dying in either heroic ways or really just fucked up ways that make the reader happy about the fact that that person has just died at the end of a novel. That moment that you were talking about jumping off a building, actually is based off of a photograph from 1947 about a woman named Evelyn McHale that jumped off the 86th floor of the Empire State Building in May of 1947. And there was a full-page photo of her body published in Life magazine. So that's where that all comes from, which is very morbid and very twisted.
Oh, she's the one who landed on the car. I've seen that photo.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did Google it after when I did my research for this, and I'm like, damn, that. And it's so interesting how stuff like that was published back in the 40s, and even up until now. Granted, we have the internet and we see
lots
some
of messed
shit.
up stuff.
If
you want to,
if you're scrolling, like doom scrolling at night, you watch dash cam compilations. Like those are honestly, in a fucked up way, some of my favorite shit. Now, granted, I used to love watching World's Most Amazing Videos on Spike TV, and that's literally all it was hour-long compilations of trucks exploding on the freeway and people getting trapped under big rigs and all this kind of shit, and trucks and cars flipping 17 times on the highway. And, of course, the narrator's like, miraculously, no one was hurt. Watch this. So it's always been burned in my memory and in my psyche. I think it's just is human nature to want to see morbid, fucked up shit.
Oh, yeah, that's why people slow down for car crashes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, granted, I do my best not to, but ooh, that reminds me of a time when I was a kid. We were driving to Malibu one time through the Malibu Hills, and there was a really, really bad car accident, and my parents said, don't look to your right. What did I do? I looked to my right. I saw a guy on the floor with his head smashed open. It'll forever be burned in my brain. I'll never forget it. It was weird because when I saw it, we kept driving into Malibu, went to the beach, had a beautiful day, and then for weeks after that, that guy's face was just in my brain. And I still see it now that I'm talking about it. Of course, it's still there, like fresh as just looking at you right now. I can see this guy's fucking face, and his forehead was split open. Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, it didn't I wasn't like I didn't get in the car like, oh my God, like it wasn't anything like that. It was just like, oh my God, that's a dead guy right there on the freeway, and we're driving right by it. So before social media and this desensitization, if you will, of seeing morbid shit on the news and even doom scrolling on Facebook and seeing these videos, I've seen that in real time, and I don't even want to say it fucked me up. It was just something that I was like, oh my gosh, there's a dead body, and that was it. And so anyway, moving on.
Oh my God.
Haven't talked about that in a long time. I guarantee you my parents don't have any memory of that, but maybe they do. Maybe they saw it too. My mom was an ER nurse for 20 plus years.
Your mom has seen some shit.
My mom has seen some shit and has told me some stories. And yeah, I think also with the trauma that I've gone through, you and my wife, especially with open heart surgery, stuff like that does not bother me like it normally would other people.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird. Isn't that weird?
I agree, actually, now that you say that.
Yeah, it's so strange.
That's a really good point. Yeah, no wonder you
love
really
horror movies.
Yeah, no one. Well, yeah, that's your deep-seated trauma from childhood, clearly.
Yeah, it probably is. But either way,
thankfully,
moving on.
Stranger Than Fiction is not any of those things.
No, it's not. That was definitely an interesting direction we went down that route. Hey, you know what?
You drug me there. I didn't.
I did, and it's fine. It's all good. We got to talk about our traumas, past and present. It's all good.
What kind of podcast is this?
It's a great one now, especially. It's become a true crime trauma podcast about how movies remind us of the first time we've seen a dead body.
Great. I'm sure we're not going to lose hordes of audience members.
Nah, I doubt it. I don't think so.
We need to pick Disney movies next week.
That might be a good idea.
Oh my God.
Definitely. All right, let's move on a little bit away from all of that. Jules, played by Dustin Hoffman, creates a questionnaire of 23 items for Harold Crick. Professor David Hilbert, the German mathematician, proposed this famous list of 23 problems at the International Congress of Mathematicians in Paris in 1900. Hilbert's problems became so famous that they are typically referred to by number amongst mathematicians and philosophers, and several of them are still unanswered. And those questions, especially one of my favorite questions that Jules asks Harold is, are you relieved to find out that you're not a golem?
Yeah. I love that line so much.
And his response, yes, I'm relieved to know that I'm not a golem. And I'll never forget it because this was just a few years after Lord of the Rings had come out. And I'm like, oh, a golem it's not just a mythical creature. It's like literally something that people could potentially become because of some weird obsession. And of course, Harold Crick becomes obsessed with hearing Karen Eiffel's voice and trying to find her. So the parallel is really fascinating and really, really cool.
I loved his questionnaire so much. And I didn't know where it was going at first
Right.
because I thought, oh, he's just doing 20 questions trying to narrow things down. But in reality, what he was doing is getting an idea of genres and famous books. And so when Dustin Hoffman starts spouting off what he isn't, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman was so pissed at him when he was telling him the answers because he's like, oh, God, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
That was great.
So awesome. The novel that Karen Eiffel is writing in this movie, she titles Death and Taxes, and apparently it comes from a letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote Jean-Baptiste Leroy in 1798, where he's quoted saying, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes."
Oh, yeah. I love
It's
it.
absolutely true.
Really a famous quote there. God, Benjamin Franklin had some great one-liners.
There's a movie that Harold goes to see while he is instructed to go live his life. That is Monty Python's The Meaning of Life.
Well, I prefer The Life of Brian, but okay.
I gotta see The Life of Brian. I gotta
Oh, I
rewatch.
bet you were never allowed to see that growing up. That is heresy.
Certainly not. No, yeah, I was not. No. I do want to check it out, though.
The most offensive to Christians, that's for sure.
Yeah, I gotta get into more of the Monty Python stuff. I've seen Holy Grail, and I did see Holy Grail again last year in theaters, and I don't remember really enjoying it that
we
much.
talked about
and
it as soon as you left the theater, and I said the same thing. I said, yeah, I recently rewatched it, and I did not laugh.
Yeah, it didn't really hold up at all.
Not
but
for me, at
it's all
least.
good.
Sorry.
Life of Brian is certainly one to to check out because I've never seen it, and I should check out Meaning of Life too because I haven't seen that one either.
Monty Python was brilliant for its time, so we should at least give it a chance.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Life
Absolutely.
of Brian. I think you might find Life of Brian pretty hilarious since it is a mockumentary of Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. Well, then I'm adding it to my watch list immediatamente. The timepiece that Harold has on his wrist that is really a character in of itself in this movie is the Timex men's watch number T56371, the Ironman Triathlon 42 lap combo dual tech. And it's a beautiful watch. I love the way that it's used as a character in this movie. It's similar to the cell phones in The Departed, how they're very much driving the story forward.
I really love that watch, and if I didn't own an Apple Watch now, and that's the only thing I wear, I'd probably pick one up or one similar to it. I'm so sad that the watches that I've collected are now languishing in a drawer because I only wear the Apple Watch now.
That is unfortunate. If you feel like donating them to me, please do. I have I have at least 7 or 8 watches at home. I wear 2 of them right now because all the other ones are dead because all the batteries are dead.
Oops.
I've been meaning to replace them for the last few years, but I have a few Modus watches. I have my Belova that my sister gave me, my original grain that my wife gave me, and I have a Goofy watch that Amy also gave me. So I've been a watch collector since I was a kid, and timepieces are something that I am always gravitated to.
My dad's always worn a pocket watch.
Oh, very cool. I have 2 pocket watches, actually, in my memorabilia boxes, both from my grandfather on my mom's side.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, my dad's an electrician,
Yeah.
and so he never really wanted to wear anything on his wrists, and he would either break it or it'd be a problem, and so, yeah, he's always worn a pocket watch. I think that was actually the start of my love of watches, just because it was so different, and so it made me curious and fascinated by timepieces, and especially
Definitely.
unique ones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stranger Than Fiction was released November 10th of 2006, 20 years ago, like we mentioned. V, what do you think the budget of Stranger Than Fiction was?
Oh, that's a tough one because there aren't really any massive stunts, and while there are different sets, there aren't a ton of them. They don't go to different cities or anything like that, but there's a lot of really good actors in it, so
Yeah.
I'm going to say $45 million.
You were off by 15. It was a $30 million budget.
Bummer. Okay.
Yeah,
But
close
yeah,
enough,
that
though.
makes
Not
sense.
bad.
I mean, it's got that vibe to it that it's, these thinking man's movie, the indie, the ones that you talk about in a film club kind of vibe. So makes sense.
Yeah,
It's the type
yeah,
of film
absolutely.
that people would take a pay cut in order to make.
Yeah, I could see that, absolutely. Because Will Ferrell, I think, had just a few years before this had come off of his SNL run, and of course, Old School and Elf were already in people's lives. So, opening weekend, this film brought in $13.4 million. The domestic gross of Stranger Than Fiction was $40.6 million, and the gross worldwide for Stranger Than Fiction was $53.6 million. Did not do great. but it did well enough, and it's still perfect for this podcast because it is highly underrated, and like I said, super glad that you enjoyed it as much as you did. My mom certainly hit a home run with this one, and I do want to mention that my mom's first choice was a pick of Vee's My Cousin Vinny. And Vee vetoed that, which is understandable, and I get it. We will do My Cousin Vinny soon in the future. But I love the fact that my mom immediately went to Stranger Than Fiction as her second choice. Did a great job with that because it let me revisit it and let me introduce it to you, Vee, and everybody on the podcast that may have never even heard of this movie.
Your mom is just trying to cause a rift in the podcast, picking one of mine that's been on my list for a couple of years.
Right?
But yes, I am so grateful that she picked it. Ugh, can't say enough great things about the movie.
Good to hear. And if you have not seen it and you care to check it out, it is streaming on Amazon Prime right now. I watched my DVD copy of this flick, and I'm glad that I own a physical copy of it. If there ever is a 4K, you better believe that I will have it in my collection again.
We haven't had something streaming for free in a little while, it feels like. So it's nice that,
Yeah,
of course,
that's right.
we had the Star Wars movies. They are on Disney+. But before that, in the last couple episodes, it just seems like we've kept telling people that things are only available for rent, which is super lame, especially because between the two of us, we have all of the streaming services. We should never have to rent movies anymore for paying this much money.
I fully agree. But I am willing to pay, especially for Thunderheart, which I did. I paid for that, and I'm glad that I did, because I'm sure I would have seen it one way or another, but there are certain movies that I totally do not mind paying for.
Well, thank you, and I'll keep an eye out for it at the library and the little places that I go that have used DVDs whenever I'm keeping an eye out for you, now that I know that you like it.
Hell yeah! Well, that about wraps us up here at Movies You Missed Podcast for our third Mother's Day pick episode here. Great picks. Glad we were able to introduce each other to two great movies that we both enjoyed as much as we did. And thank you, Mom, and thank you, Susan, for the picks. Absolutely awesome. And V, I'm curious if you would watch Thunderheart with your grandmother.
I absolutely would, especially my dad's mom. She was really into the American West. I remember her having a lot of really cool paintings and portraits of Native Americans and just the Old West and things like that. She loved Westerns too and just the history of that. So this would have been right up her alley. And John, would you watch Stranger Than Fiction with your grandma?
I think my grandmother did see it one time, and it wasn't necessarily up my grandmother's alley. Well, let's get into what we're going to be doing next week. I'm excited for this episode.
Another very special episode.
We're going to be discussing two more of V and myself's favorite movies as we are reaching our 4-year anniversary.
Which is wild.
I don't know how that happened, but it makes sense because we started in 2022. So here we are in 2026, 4 years later of Movies You Missed podcasts. I don't know how many movies we've done, but we've done a lot. And
420.
Wow, we've done 420 movies. I love the number 420, as I love the number 69. So let's get into our 422nd, 21st and 22nd movie. V, what are you choosing for our 4-year anniversary of Movies You Missed podcast?
Most of you know we love to celebrate with picking some of our all-time favorite movies, not just movies we love. And I've been talking about this film for a bit now, and I recently watched it in theaters, so I thought it was a good time to bring it to the podcast. I picked a movie that John has never seen, so we'll see how that goes. Starring Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Michael McKean, and a bunch more fantastic, talented comedians. This is Clue.
I look forward to checking out Clue.
I really hope you like it, and if you don't, just lie to me.
All right, I can do that.
Okay, great. And what favorite movie did you pick to celebrate our 4-year anniversary?
I'm going the sequel route this year. Kind of feel like I should do T2 Trainspotting, but I'm not going to do that one.
I will never watch that movie.
That's absolutely untrue because you said you would watch it with me here at my house because you watched Trainspotting with me, and I told you that T2 Trainspotting was not as disgusting and fucked up as the first one.
Okay, that's right.
But we're going to save that for when we can watch that together, so we'll get into that maybe for year 5. But I am going to do a sequel, and I'm going to go back to technically year one of favorite movies, and I'm going to do a sequel to the movie that I chose for the first year of favorite movies. My first year was Jurassic Park, so this year, naturally, I'm going to do The Lost World Jurassic Park, starring Jeff Goldblum, Julianne Moore, and David Attenborough.
Pete
I love this movie.
Postlethwaite.
Oh, Pete Postlethwaite, absolutely, yes, and Peter Stormare. So many great actors in this movie.
And Vince Vaughn.
Vince frickin' Vaughn, yeah. And V, you and I watched this movie within the last 4 months together here at my house in 4K at like midnight, and we stayed up for the whole damn thing.
We really did, and it was so fun because I actually hadn't seen The Lost World in a handful of years. It was good to revisit, and it's so nice when you're reminded of just how good a movie is, especially because a lot of people shit on
Yeah.
that film, which we'll talk
They
about next
really
week.
do.
But God, I had a good time watching that movie with you, and I loved that we
Yeah.
were just gushing over it together the whole time.
So awesome. So that is my pick, The Lost World Jurassic Park, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by David Koepp, based off the novel by Michael Crichton. Rest in peace. It is not available to stream anywhere, like we just talked
What?
about.
God damn it!
No, you can't stream it, although you can rent it for $3.99 on Amazon or Apple. I will watch my 4K copy because I just can't get enough of The Lost World Jurassic Park.
I don't like that it's titled that way, though. It should be Jurassic Park: The Lost World.
I don't mind the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Okay.
I got a great story about that movie, but we'll get into that next week when we discuss it. Thank you guys for joining us for our Mother's Day episode. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. Hopefully you had some delicious food and great drink and great family time with your families.
And hopefully you didn't have to make or clean up any of it.
Hopefully you didn't have to make or clean up any of it. No, I grilled steaks and all that good stuff. Yeah, my mom didn't have to do anything. So join us next week. We'll see you guys then. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media. And Movies You Miss Podcast closes out every episode with Film is a Form of Art. And in art, all opinions are valid except if you think...
Comedic actors in dramatic roles don't usually knock it out of the park.
Aha! I like it. I agree.
Good.
We'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.